Hello everyone, welcome to my 7-day cybersecurity bootcamp. I'm Marley, and for the next 7 days I'm going to lead you through step-by-step procedures to take your data and your network from being insecure and possibly ready to be breached, if you haven't already, to a point to where you should be unlikely to be breached and will protect you from cyber breach lawsuits and possibly compliance, fines, and penalties for not doing it correctly. But what can you learn in 7 days? You're probably asking yourself, in 7 days, if I watch a video, how can I learn much to make a difference? Well, in 7 days, we're going to cover a lot. And we're going to take it in a way that's going to be a lot of material, but it's also going to be structured in a way that you can follow along each day and complete it. And there will be a lot of documentation to go along with it as well. But on day 1, we're going to start with password management. We're going to cover all the basics and some of the in-depth things you have to do to make sure your passwords are secure and that your employees follow your password procedures. On day 2, we're going to cover program updates, both hardware, software, Microsoft updates, and third-party updates. Antivirus. There's a good chance the antivirus you're using today was obsolete back as far as 1999. We're going to talk about the next generation endpoint protection, which provides ultimate security for your servers and for your PCs. Wi-Fi security. That's a pretty broad area to talk about, but we're going to cover a couple different sides of that. One is how to secure your local area network, your business Wi-Fi, so that your employees can access all the files they need, but yet your guests come in, they have internet access, but they can't access any of your files and risk your network from viruses or malware attacks if they have it on their device. We're also going to cover what you can do when you get to a public Wi-Fi to keep yourself secure. Everybody has to have a firewall. Most of you watching this do. If you have internet access in a local area network, you must have a firewall of some sort. A firewall is a device that protects you from all intruders, all the traffic coming in from the internet. But there are a lot of best practices you have to implement to make sure your firewall is working correctly. We'll talk about all those best practices and what you can do as a business owner to make your firewall more efficient, speed up your data, but also there's a few things that you may want to disable on your firewall. Even though they're part of your firewall software, they may be causing you a security concern. We'll cover those for you. We're also going to cover on day 6 something that most of you refer to as backup and disaster recovery. I don't think it's that anymore, and let me explain why. A backup and disaster recovery system years ago was probably a tape backup system or an external drive that you would do a backup every day of your files, and then you store it somewhere in a cabinet, and typically when I saw it, it was right near the server or stacked on top of the server. And if something happened where your lost a file or your server crashed, you would go then and put that tape in, search for the file, and restore it. It wasn't very efficient, but it also didn't protect you from ransomware because we didn't have ransomware at that time. So today, data security means that the backup procedure that you have is the last line of defense you have against ransomware. If you have a backup system that checks for ransomware while it's being backed up and then not back up infected files, and you get a ransomware anywhere in your network, you can then restore that to that time ransomware virus free and never pay the ransom. Otherwise, you're probably going to shell out the ransom. On day 7, we're getting into disk encryption, both file level and whole disk encryption, and we might even touch on email encryption as well, and mobile devices. There's a lot to do with encryption, and it seems a little daunting and overwhelming, but trust me, the way that we're going to deliver it and the information we're giving you will make it useful, you can understand it, and you can implement it right away to secure your data. Who should attend this? You know, CEOs, business owners, managers that are concerned about falling victim data breach, and they fear being called stupid or possibly just irresponsible when their data gets hacked. Business owners who currently outsource their IT company to a managed service provider but still aren't totally confident that everything's being done to protect their data and their users. Local and state government employees who manage IT environments and put their job on the line every day to protect your and my data. These individuals normally protect very sensitive information from a lot of different people, but also do it on a limited amount of money, resources, and I'm going to help them, give them some ideas that they can use to secure their data as well. CEOs of businesses that are facing government regulation, possible large fines if they don't meet mandatory compliance guidelines. Most industries today are becoming regulated, and especially if you're in Europe, there's all kinds of new guidelines, and all those are coming to the United States as well. There's everything from HIPAA to PCI to NIST 800. There's all kinds of compliance you have to worry about. We're not going to touch on compliance much today because that's a whole different course that we can cover, but we're going to cover what you have to do, the basics to keep yourself compliant, but also to get yourself ready for a compliance audit if that happens. Just like the real boot camp that I went through for the Marine Corps, it's not for everybody. You have, if you've already performed a cyber risk assessment and you got the all clear signal from the guy, your cybersecurity guy, and you feel good about it, then you probably don't need to attend this course at all. If you're a business owner that already has all the security practices in place, you have policies, your employees understand those policies and how to implement them and report violations of those policies, this may not be the course for you. Maybe you have an outside managed IT firm that has your back. As we say in the Marine Corps, they have your six. And you sleep really well at night knowing that they have your back and you have no concern about a cyber attack or losing your data. You may not want to attend this either. There's also CEOs that trust that the government is going to mandate something and write legislation to protect their data. If you believe that, I would say you probably don't need to watch this course, but that's even a larger reason why you should be watching this course, because that's never going to happen. There's also people who believe that their data is not important enough to be hacked. If you truly believe that, you probably won't get much use out of this course. But don't leave yet. I challenge you that even if you meet these 4 guidelines and you think you shouldn't attend, I think you'll get something out of this. Because I believe that you think that someone else in your company is probably doing the cybersecurity and you don't have to worry about it because you're the boss, the CEO, whatever it is, and someone else has that. That's their responsibility. But I'll tell you, it's not. Ask the CEO of Equifax. He got called in front of Congress and had to defend something happened in his company, which he may or may not have been aware of. He got held liable for the mistakes of the IT department in his company. You need to be aware because the IT department can come and go, they can leave, but it's still your company and your data, your retirement, so you as a CEO need to be aware of what's going on your network. There's no excuse for not knowing. So please stand by and stick around the next 7 days. I think you'll learn a lot. We're going to break this down into phases. Just like in the Marine Corps, I had 3 phases of boot camp. We're going to start with phase 1, which is the initial discovery and initial briefing about your network. What will you get by attending this boot camp? Well, you get 7 action items, 1 per day, that you need to complete each day to prepare yourself for the next day. I expect you also get 7 cheat sheets. Each day you'll get a supporting document you can download from the portal, the same place you got this video from. And that cheat sheets will include things like insider tips that I've learned in 25 years of doing cybersecurity. You'll also learn the best practices that we use daily to secure our clients, and also a few gotchas you want to avoid, because sometimes you don't want to implement all levels of security that you read about, because too much sometimes is too much. It might slow down your network or cause more complications for you. We also want to make this transparent to your employees, or they'll never do it anyways. We're going to send you links where available to more information. Although this course gets very in-depth about a lot of different topics, we can't cover everything. There's several different brands of servers, types of operating systems, and we just can't do it all in one course. So if it's relevant, we'll send you a link or comment in the Facebook group that goes along with this course. If you have specific questions about your environment, we can schedule a time to come on site, talk to you, or send you a link to more information so you can read up on it yourself. There's also going to be at the end an opportunity to obtain a cybersecurity risk assessment by an IT professional like myself. In the beginning, you're going to start with a risk assessment. I ask you to be honest. So at the end, we do the risk assessment, the professional assessment. You will know where you've done and how much you've achieved in a short amount of time. I think you'll be surprised. You'll also get the peace of mind of knowing that you're much better secure on day 7 than you were in the beginning of day 1. That there will help you sleep at night better. And getting a good idea, even if you're not totally secure, at least you get a good idea where you're at, and you have an action plan to get there to get yourself out of trouble and to prevent those kind of attacks. Who am I and why am I teaching this course? My name is Marley. I'm the CEO of Network Computer Solutions, and our primary office is in Warsaw, Indiana. I began my IT career in 1989 while serving in the United States Marine Corps. While in the Marine Corps, I was deployed to Operation Desert Storm, and I had to do something that really wasn't even my job description, but I was put into a role of securing the data of a Marine Corps unit that had troops all the way from the front lines of Kuwait and Baghdad all the way back to the back in Jebel, Saudi Arabia. So I spent time in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain, and what I did was I made sure that all of our data was protected, encrypted, backed up, and also is backed up not just for theft, because we had a lot of personnel information, numbers, all kinds of information that we can't even talk about, but we also had to worry about all the sand and the harsh environments and the heat destroying the hardware. So we had to be prepared at any given time to restore those servers if we had to. When I left the Marine Corps, I realized that when I started working for a small business, that small businesses weren't protected on the cybersecurity and data security side like large businesses, enterprises, and the Marine Corps. So I thought, I've got to find a way to get these small businesses to secure their data just like they're a big enterprise. So I started putting together all these ideas and plans, and I came up with what I feel is a foolproof solution to solve the IT and the security challenges of a small business, and they can treat it just like they would an enterprise business or a military establishment. Now, my mission from Network Computer Solutions is to provide a security package for your clients, for your company, so that you never have to worry about it and you never have to report to your clients that you lost their data, and then you get possible fines and penalties. We're going to make sure that we do this right so you don't happen to you and you're very secure. What do I do today? Today I'm the leader of a squad of cyber technicians and engineers that manage IT environments and security for industries all over the country. Our clients range in all kinds of industries, but we have a lot of clients in the agriculture industry, the healthcare, and the financial industries, which are very heavily regulated. So we're very familiar with compliance. If you have any questions or need assistance in any of those things, please reach out to me and we can see what we can schedule a meeting and maybe we can help you. Ultimately, what we're going to cover is how to avoid being a target to all these cyber criminals and protect what you've been working so hard to achieve. Why is it important? Well, if the government thinks it's important and they go out of their way to talk about it, I would listen. James Comey, the former director of the FBI, says that there are only two types of companies in the United States. There are those that have been hacked, and there are those who don't know they've been hacked. What type are you? I believe the biggest danger to your data security is complacency. Andy Grove agrees. Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel, he said success breeds complacency, complacency breeds failure, and only the paranoid survive. What did Andy mean by that? Well, when he talks about success, he was referring to success is that you have never been breached, never had a data loss, so that makes you complacent. You're complacent because everything you've done up till today has worked because you haven't had a cyber attack and data breach. So you'll continue to keep being complacent, doing the same thing over and over and over until you become victim. Trust me, what got you here today will not get you where you want to go. The landscape, the battlefield has changed. I think there are two different eras of IT security, and we're in the latter. Where there's the BR and the AR. The BR is your before ransomware. That's back when everything was a simple virus and malware. People would come into your office or hack into your network, but that was before. Today, it's different. They'll send an email to one of your employees and get your employee to click on something. The employee welcomes the ransomware in, and then they take all your money just to get your data back. So I believe you have to be paranoid about this, or you potentially could be a victim. We're going to cover over the next 7 days how to keep you from being a victim. Key findings recently in a survey that's very interesting to me was that 50% of SMBs, small and medium businesses, have been breached in the past 12 months. The most prevalent attacks against SMBs are web-based phishing and social engineering attacks. If you're not sure what a phishing and social engineering attack is, make some comments in the Facebook group and I'll reply and I'll tell you what those are. But also we have other courses available that cover those as well. 59% of SMBs have no visibility into the employee password practices and hygiene, which means 59% don't have a clue what's going on with their employees as far as passwords. Do they use their kid's name? Do they use their username? Do they just use a bunch of numbers? We don't even know. 59%. 65% of SMBs that have a password policy do not enforce it. That means employees are still doing whatever they want. They put a password policy in their manual just so they'd had it, so it looked good for compliance reasons, but they don't enforce it. If you're not going to enforce it, don't even do it. It's just confusing your staff and makes them think that you are not serious about cybersecurity. If you're not serious, they won't take it seriously either. Who's protecting you anyways? Probably not the government. Because look at what I've got here on the screen is that articles from major media sources talking about the limitations and weaknesses of the government and the military cybersecurity. Top U.S. Army and NSA documents let's expose on an S3 bucket. First of all, NSA, National Security Agency, and what's an SM3 bucket? Let me explain what that is. An S3 bucket is essentially a filing cabinet available on the internet. Has a bunch of millions of drawers, and those drawers can be locked and encrypted so no one can access those, or they can be left wide open so any ones of the millions of people that pass by can look at those files. Well, the Army and NSA thought it was good just to leave them wide open and let millions of people drive by and look at those and take copies of them. That's a big issue. NBC News reports the OPM, Office of Personnel Management, had to report to 22 million people that their government employee records were hacked and stolen. All the data was gone. Congress addresses it, and they said that 14 million small businesses were hacked in the last 12 months. They're going to try to do something about it. In fact, Marie Cantwell, a senator, she said by creating a simple voluntary cybersecurity framework for small businesses, the Main Street Cybersecurity Act will help them protect their data. Do you think that you're going to rely on that to protect your data? Not me. What I see based on the history and what I've experienced is what they're going to do is they're going to use somebody who has no cybersecurity IT experience. They're going to create a set of documents. They're going to publish them on a website. By the time they publish them, it's going to be years from now, and they're going to be so outdated, antiquated, that they're not even relevant, and they're not going to be easy to find or follow. We're going to give you in this course a step-by-step framework that you can follow today to make sure your network is secure. Because we care. I'm a small business just like you, and I don't want to be breached either. So I'm going to give you the same documents that I use to secure my company's data. Forbes reported that CIA, they were caught hacking Samsung smart TVs, possibly listening in to what's going on in people's homes. You can't trust the government to secure your data or to make sure they're not spying on you. So you've got to do whatever you can to protect your network and your data. We recently interviewed several businesses. In the last 90 days, we were shocked at the answers and the results. 80% of the companies we interviewed were infected with malware or viruses of some sort, even though they had antivirus installed, a firewall on their network, and an IT guy who is responsible for keeping their network business secure. We found that 60% did not have all their data backed up. 90% had employees posting company files on their personal Dropbox type system. If you don't know what that means, Google it, and you'll be terrified, because what it is people sharing information from your company on a program on their computer which goes to the cloud, which synchronizes to every mobile device they have. So and you have no record of it, you can't track who forwarded it, who they sent it to your employer, did they send it to your competitors? You don't know. So be careful. We're going to talk about how to stop that in that day of the course. 100% of the people we talked to had an IT company that provided their IT services. And this is all from companies that swore it would never happen to me. It's getting closer to home more than what we think. So follow along for 7 days, participate, do the homework, and you'll be rewarded at the end. What should I expect in a daily training? Well, you're going to get each day's training. You get an email that gives you a link to the course. That'll also include a cheat sheet or a sheet to follow along with each day and a task to complete. That task should not take you more than about an hour. Some days less, some days more, average about an hour. The daily training will consist of some video and some written documentation for you to follow. There's also a private Facebook group, and I welcome you to join that group and participate and stay in it long term. Whenever something big happens on the cybersecurity front, you'll be the first to know. Also, you can ask questions, and if you have concerns about your security, you can ask questions and people can answer it. We encourage you to answer questions if you know the answer, and ask many questions. There are no questions about security that are too stupid or too simple to answer or ask, and we'll make sure we answer it. My team of cyber techs will also be watching and monitoring this group to answer questions if they can. But I encourage the members to answer each other's questions, help each other out, because the more participation we get, the more value we will all see from this. Before we begin, I want to say that all practices, processes, and advice provided during this bootcamp is meant to be just informational, and all precautions must be taken to back up and protect your systems before any changes are made to configuration files, registries, and software installations. Network Computer Solutions assumes no liability for any harm or damage caused by you acting on our advice. NCS recommends that all work be performed by a trained and certified IT technician. All trademarks of any companies that we use or mention or show their product belong and remain the property of the respective owners. I welcome you to stay through to day one. Thank you for going through the introduction, the debriefing, and if you're ready to go forward, click on the email you received for day one, and I'll see you on the other side.